lesson, we're going to look at how to play blues licks over a syncopated bass line in A minor. And if you want to download the tab that goes with this lesson, you can go to the link below or the link on screen to sign up for my newsletter and get a PDF with all of the examples I just played. And if you're looking for a clearer, more organized way to learn fingerstyle blues, go to my website, fretboardconfidential.com, and check out my monthly membership, the Fingerstyle 5. So playing over a syncopated bass line is a little harder than playing over a steady bass, but it's the same idea. So we're going to look at the bass line first, and then look at some of the licks and chord fragments we can put on top, and then talk about how to put all that together. So the bass is just doing this. So it's really just an A minor chord, and then E to G. And you could hear it as A minor, E minor, and G, or you could just hear it as like a bluesy bass line in A, where here's the root and the fifth and the flat 7. Just kind of depends what's going on top, what the bass line ends up sounding like. But in terms of the time, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So it's only really syncopated in the sense that that second bass note on the A would be sort of more regular if it was just coming on the beat 3, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 2. Right? That would feel like everything was evenly spaced apart, because it is. But when you have that second bass note come in on 2, then it feels like it's coming in early. And so when things come in early or late, when they come in where they're not expected rhythmically, it feels syncopated. That's basically all that means. So we've got this bass line. And the first thing is just to make sure you've got that solid, playing it with your thumb, maybe doing a little palm muting against the strings so it doesn't ring out, and have everything like ringing against itself. And then we're going to start with some chord fragments on top. So this is the root and flat third of an A minor, and then this is the fifth and the flat 7 of E minor. But you could also just hear it as, again, like a harmonized blues scale. Either way, we've got this. And so what's happening is we've got beats 1 and 2 are the bass line. Beat 3, I'm using my thumb and my ring finger to grab the 3rd and the 2nd string. Now you could do it with index and middle, but somehow bringing the thumb over, the thumb has more weight, and so it feels like it helps the groove, it helps the backbeat. If you put your thumb on beat 3, it helps to make things have a stronger pulse. So we've got, and then this double stop at the 4th fret of the 3rd string and the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, that is happening on the and of 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. And again, to keep the pulse going, you can do a damped stroke on the downbeat of 4, again with your thumb. And so all that I'm doing is I've got, between playing this double stop and this double stop, I'm relaxing my grip so that when I play the 3rd string on beat 4, it comes out just as a percussive sound. And it helps to sort of provide some of the rhythmic background that you need for the groove to be the groove. So practice that first. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. But what happens after that is here comes the bass on 1 and 2 and then the bass on beat 3. I guess that is anticipated. Yeah, so it's actually and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And then the second time, you don't actually play the high string. So and the reason is that if you do it a little differently the second time, instead of sounding like you're playing a 2-bar idea over and over, it sort of turns it into a 4-bar idea, because the first time you have this landing on the root of the E, and the second time you sort of leave it hanging and let the bass line do all the heavy lifting. So that's the whole vamp. And that is the figure that we're going to keep returning to as kind of the foundation, like play the vamp and then kind of go off to play some single note licks and then come back to the vamp again. So let's look at a couple of licks we can put over this bass line, starting with this one. So it's basically just an A minor pentatonic or A blues scale lick, followed by, so kind of a call and response thing. First you go up and come back down, and the second time you go further up and play a busier lick on the way back down. So the whole thing is we're starting off with the bass and then taking advantage of the space in the second half of that first measure, so we don't really even play anything over the first 2 bass notes, and then go into that lick on beat 3. And I'm bringing my thumb over to play on the 3rd string for that double stop. And this is part of the idea of just using your thumb when you can to play downbeats in the melody when you're not busy using your thumb for the bass. It helps to keep the groove and the pocket going, because the thumb has a certain kind of weight that the fingers don't have. And so to play feels like it's got more of a pulse to me than... And I got this idea straight out of watching clips of Charlie Hunter teach and explain what he's doing, and noticing that, you know, he talks literally about doing this, and then you can see him doing it all the time, playing the bass and then going across and playing single notes with a combination of thumb and fingers, which is a little weird to do at first, but once you start to do it, it starts to feel a lot groovier than doing everything with the fingers. So we've got this bass note, and then a pinch, a hammer-on, high string, and then back to the 2nd string, which is an anticipation on the end of 4. So we have, in the 2nd bar, 1 pull off, and a pinch, and another pull off. So you've only got one place where the melody and the bass are happening at the same time, and that's on beat 3. And then the second time, it starts the same. And you could hammer on at the 5th fret on the high string. And then the same thing, that's an anticipation. And here we have a pinch again between the 3rd fret on the high string, 2nd string, and the 3rd fret in the bass. And then this time there's 4 notes in a row. And you might not hold down the bass the whole way through to get that, because you're pulling off 3rd fret to 1st fret on the 2nd string, 2nd fret to open on the 3rd string. So that second phrase. So all together, it makes a kind of call and response. The first lick resolves lower, the second lick goes up higher, and then resolves in a busier way. Helps if you play it right. And so that's one way you can start to put licks over that bass. Now I played a second pair of call and response licks during that opening example as well, and they went like this. these licks actually, both of them start within those first 2 beats. So sort of, instead of waiting for the bass to be done for the measure and then starting to play your licks, you're actually getting these licks started while that bass is still going. So for the opening part, we've got 1 and 2. So we've got the first bass note, and then on the and of 1, we're playing flat 3 here at the 5th fret of the 3rd string, and then on beat 2, we're pinching the bass and the root on top. And then we've got 4 8th notes, and this is another opportunity to put the weight on beat 3 by using the thumb, and then pulling off from root to flat 7 to 5, and then grabbing flat 7 again, picking with the ring finger on the way back up. And so again, we're playing on the and of 4. It's an anticipation into measure 2, playing the bass and then pulling off on 2 and then here we're actually hammering on into beat 3. So the place that would be a pinch, which is these 2 notes on beat 3 when the thumb comes in, is actually you're hammering on and you're coordinating that hammer on to the D note here on top with coming in and playing the bass on the bottom, like that. So you want to first make sure the hammer-on's cool and it's making the sound you want it to make, and then make sure that you can come in and coordinate that bass note with it. So and then grabbing the high string on beat 4. The second part of the lick, the answer, starts with a pinch on beat 2. So 1, 2, and then we've got all 8th notes. Again, a hammer on and an anticipation, and then this blues lick. So you grab the bass on beat 1 of measure 4 of that example, and then you're going to go up to the flat 5 and pick it, slide down to the 4, pull off to the flat 3, and cross over the root. So it's, and then a pinch on beat 3, and then beat 4 is just the flat 3rd. So all together. So you can add those licks in, so you've got now a vamp and a first pair of licks and now a second pair of licks. And finally, we can put some double stop licks further up the neck. So here, we really are spelling out the chord a bit more. Here's the 5th and the flat 3rd of A minor, hammering on. Really think of it just as kind of a double stop scale sort of thing. I mean, I suppose you're going to a D minor temporarily, but it's really just kind of a sound that's getting you to this E minor. Again, thumb on beat 3. Let go of the chord to get the last bass note, and then here we're going to grab the bass, and then on beat 2 the double stop, so it's thumb, index, and ring, and then on beat 3 thumb and ring gets the pull off, and then grabbing index and ring on the and of 4. All together. And so once you have all of these pieces, then you can start to put it all together in whatever order you want. So you could start with the bass line, and then, go to the vamp, and then start to play some licks. Back to the vamp. And you don't even have to, those licks, you can start and stop them different ways. Or you could, play, like in this case, you could do this one 3 times in a row. And then, right, so you get this kind of call and response thing. And then the second time, make it shorter so it has some contrast, and then you play the full version again. And then that sounds like an answer, and you can even sit on that one. Right, so there's ways you can kind of expand and contract the elements even within each lick, phrase by phrase, to get some more flexibility and make it more expressive and find some ways to get more out of the material. Or you could even play really simple things. There's that pocket on beats 3 and 4 where you can kind of just play really simple blues stuff. Right, and so when you're vamping, there's different ways to do that too. So anyway, there's lots of different things you can do with this. So again, if you want to download a PDF of a bunch of these examples, just go to the link below or the link on screen. And if you want to learn more about how you can work on your fingerstyle improvisation and your fingerstyle groove with me, go to fretboardconfidential.com and check out my Fingerstyle 5 membership. And I'll see you next time.